Rome, 29 AD. An old woman tends her garden on the Palatine Hill. She's 86 years old, nearly blind, but her hands move with practiced precision through the herbs and flowers. Hemlock, nightshade, foxglove, aconite. People whisper that this garden has killed more men than any legion. They call her the Black Widow of Rome, the Spider, Altar, the Avenger. For over 50 years, she's been the most powerful woman in the known world. Emperors have trembled at her word. Generals have disappeared at her command. Entire bloodlines have been erased. Her name is Livia Drusilla, and this is the story of how a teenage war refugee became the most feared person in Roman history, and you've probably never heard of her. Let's rewind. 42 BC. Rome is tearing itself apart in civil war. Caesar's dead, the Republic is dying, and caught in the middle is a teenage girl named Livia. She's aristocratic. Her family, the Claudii, is one of the oldest bloodlines in Rome. But that's become a curse, not a blessing. Her father backed the wrong side, joining the conspiracy against Caesar. When the assassins lost, he fell on his sword rather than face execution. Livia is now 17, pregnant and married to Tiberius Claudius Nero, a man twice her age, who's also on the losing side. They're fugitives, running for their lives with their infant son, hunted by the new regime. Picture this. She's crossing mountains in winter, holding a baby, while soldiers search for them. At one point, they're hiding in a forest when the baby starts to cry. She covers his mouth with her hand. Too hard, and she'll suffocate her own child. Too soft, and they'll all be killed. The baby goes silent. They survive. This is where most stories would end. Executed, exiled, forgotten. But Livia's story, it's just beginning. 43 BC. The war ends. Amnesty is granted. Livia and her husband return to Rome, broken but alive. She's now pregnant with her second son. And then, at a dinner party, she meets him, Octavian, Caesar's adopted son, the young man who's clawing his way to absolute power. He's 24, calculating, ruthless, and he's already married to someone else. But when Octavian sees Livia, something shifts. Ancient sources say it was love at first sight. Modern historians suspect something else. He saw in her what she saw in him: ambition, intelligence, survival instinct. Here's where it gets wild. Octavian wants Livia, so he divorces his pregnant wife on the same day she gives birth to their daughter. Then he goes to her husband and essentially says, "Give me your wife." And her husband, whether out of fear, political calculation, or genuine affection, agrees. He even attends their wedding. 3 months later at that wedding, Livia goes into labor with her second son. She's so pregnant that priests have to perform special rituals to make sure the marriage is legal. Rome is scandalized. It's the gossip of the decade. But Livia and Octavian don't care. They've just formed the most dangerous partnership in Roman history. 38 BC to 27 BC. Octavian becomes Augustus, the first Roman emperor. He's the face of power, but Livia is the architect. This is where you need to understand something crucial. Roman women weren't supposed to have power. They couldn't vote, couldn't hold office, couldn't even control their own property without a male guardian. But Livia was a master at working within the system while completely subverting it. Augustus grants her unprecedented privileges. She can manage her own finances. She can attend Senate meetings, not to speak, but to listen. She receives foreign dignitaries. Her statues go up across the empire alongside his. But her real power, it's invisible. It's in the private conversations, the whispered advice, the carefully placed suggestions. Augustus makes no major decision without consulting her. And then people start dying. Here's the problem. Livia has 2 sons from her first marriage, Tiberius and Drusus. Augustus has a daughter, Julia, from his first marriage, but together, Livia and Augustus have no children, no heir. Augustus wants his bloodline to continue, so he starts grooming successors from his side of the family. First, his nephew Marcellus marries Julia. Then Marcellus dies suddenly. Poison? Maybe. Convenient for Livia? Definitely. Julia remarries, this time to Marcus Agrippa, Augustus's best friend. They have 3 sons, Gaius, Lucius, and Postumus. Augustus adopts them as his heirs. Finally, his bloodline secured. Then Agrippa dies, still relatively young, still convenient. Julia remarries again, this time to Livia's son Tiberius. Forced marriage. Neither wants it. Julia's essentially a broodmare for the succession. Tiberius is miserable. But now Livia's son is married to the emperor's daughter. The chess pieces are moving. This is where the story gets dark. Over the next decade, every single heir to Augustus dies. Gaius Caesar dies in Syria. Lucius Caesar dies in Spain. Young men, healthy men, dying of sudden illnesses far from Rome. Augustus is devastated. He's watching his entire family disappear. The last grandson, Postumus, is different. He's violent, uncontrollable. Augustus eventually exiles him to an island. Then, mysteriously, just after Augustus dies, Postumus is executed, allegedly on Augustus's orders, though the orders conveniently appear after Augustus can no longer verify them. And when the dust settles, who's left standing? Tiberius, Livia's son from her first marriage, the one person she's been protecting this entire time. He becomes emperor, not Augustus's bloodline, Livia's. By now, the rumors are everywhere. Livia, the poisoner. Livia, the murderer. In her famous garden on the Palatine Hill, she grows every toxic plant known to Rome. She experiments with them, understanding dosages, symptoms, delivery methods. Figs are her favorite. She allegedly coats fresh figs with poison from her garden, knowing Augustus loves to pick and eat them himself. The ancient historian Tacitus will later write that she had the complacence of a harlot and the ferocity of a tyrant. Another calls her a plague to her family and the state. But here's the thing, no one can prove anything. She's too smart, too careful. She operates in shadows, through intermediaries, with plausible deniability built into every move. Is she guilty? Rome believes it. History suspects it. But the evidence, it died with her victims. 14 AD. Augustus dies in Livia's arms. Some say she was holding him, others say she was poisoning him with those figs. His last words, supposedly, "Live mindful of our marriage, Livia, and farewell." She's now 70 years old. Her son is emperor. She's achieved everything she set out to do, but she's not done. As the emperor's mother, she wields enormous influence. She attends Senate meetings, she vetoes appointments, she negotiates with foreign ambassadors. She's essentially co-ruling the empire with Tiberius. And Tiberius hates it. He's 55 years old, emperor of Rome, and his mother still treats him like a child. She corrects him in public. She overrules his decisions. She reminds everyone that without her, he'd be nothing. The tension explodes. Tiberius starts avoiding Rome entirely, eventually retreating to the island of Capri for the last decade of his rule, partly to escape the pressures of power, mostly to escape his mother. 29 AD. Livia falls ill. She's 86, ancient by Roman standards. She's outlived everyone. Her enemies, her husband, most of her friends. She's built an empire, destroyed a bloodline, and placed her son on the throne. Tiberius doesn't come. The emperor of Rome refuses to visit his dying mother. On her deathbed, she's alone except for servants. The woman who wielded more power than any queen, more influence than any general, dies with no family by her side. But even in death, she wins one final victory. Augustus's will had stated that Livia should be deified after her death, declared a goddess like Caesar before her. Tiberius, bitter and resentful, blocks it. She doesn't get her apotheosis. But 13 years later, when Tiberius is dead and Claudius, Livia's grandson, becomes emperor, he finally deifies her. Diva Augusta, the divine Augusta. The girl who ran through forests with a baby, the refugee who had nothing, the woman Rome feared more than any army. She became a goddess after all. Here's what's haunting about Livia's story. We'll never know the truth. Did she poison all those heirs? Was she a master manipulator who murdered her way to power? Or was she a brilliant political operator who's been slandered by misogynistic historians for 2,000 years? Ancient sources, all written by men, paint her as a monster, but they also admit she was intelligent, disciplined, loyal to Augustus, and instrumental in stabilizing the empire during its most dangerous transition. Maybe she was a serial killer. Maybe she was just a survivor in a world that gave women no other path to power. Maybe she was both. What we know for certain, she played the game better than anyone else. In a world designed to keep women powerless, she became the most powerful person in it. She took a losing hand, war refugee, teenage mother, political pariah, and turned it into a dynasty that would rule Rome for a century. She outlasted emperors, she outlasted enemies, she outlasted history itself. And in her garden on the Palatine Hill, if you visit Rome today, you can still find descendants of the plants she grew: belladonna, hemlock, foxglove. Beautiful, deadly, still growing after 2,000 years, just like her legend.